Coming up on Mountain News this morning, an Eastern Kentucky community mourns the loss of a well-known local radio personality. And a county in our region gets some extra funding to make some improvements to its infrastructure.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning to you. It's Friday and it's 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for waking up with us. I'm Dakota Makris, and let's take it over to Brandon for a look at our forecast here quickly. And Brandon, this week feels like a blur to me. Like I just feel like it's gone by so fast. I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way.
But
That's how I felt.
Here's the thing, though. When the weather is nice, it goes by faster.
But you know, when it's snowing or raining, it's
winter
the longest.
mess or severe weather, it goes by. It creeps by. But no, when it's real nice out, it's like, you know. But that trend's going to continue for most of today. But unfortunately, we do have a cold front on the way tonight. It's a big one, too. Let's take a look and see what's going on. I don't think it's going to bring a whole lot of moisture to us, but I do think it's going to cool us off significantly after a very few mild days out there. 45 on top of Whitesburg Pine Mountain this morning on US 119. That is the warmest spot in the region up there on the ridge that we have on our sensor network. 40 in Prestonsburg, 40 in Jackson, 39 in Logan, 38 in Pikeville. But you come back down toward Hazard, 34 here, 28 in London, 26 in Monticello. And of course, we are concerned because we have some fires burning across our region, and we could see wind gusts of up to 40+ miles per hour today. So that will make those worse. So be aware of that. No burning today. Just no burning. I was going to say if at all possible, but no burning at all because you got winds that rough. It's going to be a stout day out there. 64 our forecast high. We averaged 48 for this time of the year. We're not too far from our record, which was 74, set back on this day in 1999. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, 46-year-old Trevor Huff, a longtime radio host and musician in Knott County, died Wednesday, and many are sharing their stories and memories of him across social media.
Trevor Huff was a gift. He was a gift to people and to our community.
Trevor Huff, a familiar name in Eastern Kentucky and maybe a voice you heard on the radio.
Trevor was a student of my wife at Knott County Central High School when I was looking for some part-time help at the time, and she recommended him.
And that recommendation turned into a more than 30-year career on the air at WKCB 107.1, The Killer Bee in Knott County.
He liked communicating with the people, but he had an extreme love for music. And he was an outstanding musician. I think it was underrated how talented that he was and gifted.
Sharing these gifts with the entire community around him.
For someone who was so talented, he was extremely humble too. He did not receive compliments well, but he certainly dished them out to a lot of people.
Brian Milam, a familiar face to Eastern Kentucky, became fast friends with Trevor. Brian met Trevor just by listening to the Trev and Bubba show.
I remember one of the first times hearing him, and I thought, well, this guy's got some charisma to him. He's got some personality, because you don't have live radio at 9 o'clock at night in Eastern Kentucky. That's not a ball game.
Once they finally met in person, the two became best friends.
We had a unique relationship in the fact that I love music, but can't play a note of music. And he enjoyed sports, but never was a person who really was an athlete. Somehow, two polar opposites connected.
Trevor became a shoulder for Brian to lean on during a huge transition in his life.
I never had a brother, but he was the closest thing to a brother that I will ever have. And in that month that I stayed with him before I left for Lexington, we laughed until we cried. We cried until we laughed.
And hoping people live a little like Trevor.
He saved my life in ways he would never understand because he was too humble. He's like, oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't do this. Yeah, he did. He did so many things for so many people.
Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News. We do not know Trevor's cause of death. Visitation for him will be held at Heinemann Funeral Services Chapel this Saturday from noon until 2 p.m. One East Tennessee community is remembering the life of a 7-year-old girl who died after COVID-19 complications. Family and friends of Adeline Gravis are planning to have a kid-friendly celebration of her life today outside of her Knoxville home. Adeline developed a rare kind of inflammation that affects the brain and spinal cord. Family friend and former teacher of Adeline, Holly Pace, says Adeline's always shared her love for Jesus and enjoyed encouraging others.
I knew right away that she was a different kind of kiddo. She just was wise and responsible and a little mother hen. She had the light of Jesus in her, and she was not afraid to tell people about him, and she was so excited to tell me that she believed in Jesus, and she wanted her friends to.
Pace says Adeline just had her dream come true last week when her baby sister was born. Well, we're learning more about the scope of Kentucky's educator shortage crisis and why educators are leaving the profession. Yesterday, Kentucky's Education Commissioner published an op-ed about the challenges schools are facing and calling for policy to support educators. In Kentucky, the number of people completing teacher training dropped by 37% from 2008 to 2018, which is slightly worse than the national average. Chad Hedrick explains.
And they are raising the alarm that they are not well.
Alarming stats from a recent survey show Kentucky's teachers are near a breaking point, exacerbated by the pandemic and a drop in new interest.
For years now, we've seen a precipitous decline in the number of people coming in. So all of that is coming to roost right now, and I'm concerned about our workforce.
One of Kentucky's top educators, Education Commissioner Jason Glass, published an op-ed Thursday coinciding with findings from a survey of more than 38,000 teachers, where 3/4 say they are concerned with the emotional well-being of their colleagues. 40% say they don't feel effective at their job. Glass says the hyper-partisan politics towards education is driving quality teachers away, calling on lawmakers to stop digging a hole that keeps getting deeper.
Stop doing things that are contributing to the problem. Stop attacking the teaching profession. Stop trying to deprofessionalize and defund the teaching profession.
Kentucky ranks 42nd in the nation in educator starter pay. Kentucky's 2021 Teacher of the Year has been very vocal about how better wages could turn the tide for recruitment and retention.
I feel like that's something which can entice a lot of new people to the profession. It's a great career to get into. But 10, 20 years down the road, when you look at salary schedules for districts, yeah, there's some increase, but compared to other careers, there's definitely really not.
Glass says it's not too late to recognize the problem and take action.
We have an opportunity with unprecedented budget surpluses to really do something and shore up some of the challenges that we've had. But I do think it's going to take years of us working our way out of this.
In Frankfort, Chad Hedrick, WKYT.
Yesterday, the Kentucky House approved an unemployment insurance reform bill. It would change how long benefits last based on the state's average unemployment rate. Under the bill, if unemployment is less than 4.5%, benefits would last for up to 12 weeks. Right now, the limit is 26 weeks. It also would require recipients to do 5 verifiable work search activities per week. If a recipient undergoes job training, they would be eligible for 5 extra weeks of benefits. Well, Kentucky lawmakers are reviewing legislation that would target transgender athletes in grades K through 12. Senate Bill 83 would prevent transgender girls from participating in girls' sports. Chelsea Jones was in Frankfort, where those who support and oppose the bill expressed their concerns.
And I have made a ton of very nice friends on this team, and we've had a fun time.
12-year-old Fisher Wells loves playing field hockey. She told lawmakers just how much during their Senate committee meeting on education.
Sports is a great way for me to cope with things, it's just a good way for me to cope with things.
That's why she was devastated to learn she initially couldn't play, not because of her skills, but because she's transgender. Lawmakers are considering a bill that would prohibit transgender female students from participating in female sports. It applies to grades K through 12. Republican Senator Robbie Mills, who's sponsoring Senate Bill 83, believes female transgender athletes have an unfair physical advantage.
And it would be crushing for a young lady to train her whole career to have it end up competing against a biological male in the state tournament or state finals.
But Fisher and her parents claim that's not true. They say the 8th grader is no different than her teammates.
And I want to put in here that Fisher is not the best player, and our team loses more than we win.
Democratic lawmakers say the bill is looking for problems that do not exist in Kentucky. They noted there have been no challenges to the Kentucky High School Athletic Association's transgender policy. It requires transgender athletes to undergo sex reassignment surgery to play on a team aligned with their gender identity.
I think fairness dictates, Mr. Chair, that people should be treated the same.
Mills said the bill is about protecting the future of Kentucky sports, a future that could impact Fisher and 8-year-old Cedar Bar.
I really like playing soccer because it is fun to hang out with my friends.
In a 9-3 vote, the bill moved out of committee and now heads to more lawmakers for consideration. In Frankfort, Chelsea Jones, WKYT.
Coming up on 6:11 here on this Friday morning, and thank goodness it is Friday. We take a look at our current conditions. We are looking at the high knob camera over at UVA-Y, still on the cooler side over there. We've been bouncing back and forth with those temperatures the last little bit here. 20s, 30s, and 40s again this morning. Monticello actually went from 21 to 26 while we have been on the air since 5 o'clock, so about the last hour and 10 minutes. And you'll see a lot of other folks are going up too. Pine Mountain's up to 46. We've got Jackson and Prestonsburg at 40. Pikeville's at 38. London's at 28, but Williamsburg just down the road at 39, so big contrast. We're all heading for about 64 this afternoon. Some warm air cranking in, but that's going to cause us some problems because it's going to be gusting to 30, 40 plus miles per hour at times and sustained winds at 10 to 15 once this front starts approaching. So all those fires, there's a lot of danger from that. Plus, I do think we see any rain chances until tonight, so that's not going to help us out a whole lot. As we look ahead on the headlines, we are going to see windy conditions and a red flag warning until 6 today for our entire region. But as the front moves in, it will be a colder weekend, but I don't know if it'll necessarily be a wetter weekend. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. It's almost 6:12 here. Still to come here next. An auto manufacturer is in the spotlight for not having to pay a single cent in taxes here in the U.S.